did the baby boomers have it easier? And so for people who are listening to this, baby boomers, there were like two of them. They were between 1946 and 1964 is when they were born, so that sort of 20-year period. So think about people who are like 55 to 75, if you will. And I just want us to compare it to people who are kind of between like your millennials and your Gen Xers, right? People who are between like 25 and like 50 now, right? So if we were to think about people in their 30s going through this same journey, did the baby boomers have it any easier, Charlie?
The damn boomers. They've ruined everything. They've ruined it all.
Giving us their leftovers. So I take that as a yes.
Well, I have a victim mentality, and anytime I can look to blame another generation for why I don't have success in my own life, I'm going to lean into that.
I can take it.
I hear it works, right? I hear being a victim really works. We should try it.
That's terrible. Should I go on to the next question now?
No. Let's unpack it a little bit further. So it's like, I think the thing that comes to mind when I've heard this question in other circles is like the whole idea of like asset prices.
Yep.
So it's like, did the boomers have it easier because when they were in their 20s, is their ability to purchase a house in a reasonable area, in a reasonable job was lower. So like if you think of like, I'll just use some like reasonable ones like teachers and cops and like people who worked in those professions, their ability to buy a home was much easier than it is today.
Yep.
I don't think anyone can argue against that. I think it's very, very hard to argue against that in general. So from asset prices, I think absolutely millennials and Gen Xers have it substantially harder than boomers did. So that side of it, tick. However, there's a big however, the opportunities millennials have and Gen Xers versus the boomers, like it's non-comparable.
Yep.
Like my parents definitely didn't have the ability to sell invisible shit on the internet, which is any info marketer that's been out there, or create e-commerce stores. Like you actually had to like, have a physical place if you were going to start like a retail shop or something like that. So the opportunity difference is just ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous.
And it's interesting. I saw a meme the other day of like The Simpsons, and it's like it's got the house of The Simpsons, and they're like, this used to be Homer Simpson was the only one earning income, and they could afford this house. and I'm like, yes, I'm like that is. Thanks, boomers. Like that is, to me, the greatest example where you could have one working, one staying at home, like the mum looking after the kids or the dad looking after the kids. I don't really care. And now like that's just not possible, right? The other thing I thought was quite interesting is like home ownership in Australia went up to like 60% during the boomers' time. And now everyone's like, oh, this whole concept of like home ownership it's just not what it used to be. But I think too many people realize that we were like the top of the world. Like there are no other countries that have as many homeowners as we do in Australia as well. So I think that the boomers had an inflated an amount of wealth, right? Like they just didn't have the same opportunities, not just the millennials and Gen Xers. They had more opportunities than millennial and Gen Xers have, but they also had it over the rest of the world, right? So it's not just them in their entirety. But I agree with you from a finance perspective. Like I group this into finance. Like finance, yeah, like if you're buying a house, you win. Like you had so many different opportunities available that I do not have at the moment. I then grouped it into education. And I said, no, I reckon we have a better opportunity for education, but with a caveat. I think that we have access to so much more information as long as we know which information to consume, right? So they got forced their education. Where we now can go onto YouTube or Skillshare or wherever and consume whatever we want to consume.
In your pocket, right? You could literally get a course on practically anything for nearly free in your pocket.
Which they never had. And so I actually think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you could go completely down the wrong path and just be a consumer where you just consume a whole heap of things, right? Like there is more distractions around technology now than there ever was before. But the opportunity, if you do choose the right path, is incomparable. So then the third one that I had was like, to your point, which is business owners. Heck no. Man, I can make more money with the more opportunities that are available to me now than my parents ever had. No worries.
Yeah. How much opportunity was there for a boomer to make money from a spare bedroom and an internet connection.
Exactly. I still remember when I started my business, which would have been like 16 years ago or 17 years ago, maybe more, maybe less. And I was trying to get a payment processor to support US dollars. Impossible. Dude, I had to have $50,000 in a bank account with the NAB just to support a multi-currency account to go and take US dollar payments.
I'm just going to say now, I wouldn't have trusted you. I don't blame
Yeah,
them.
no, right. But this was before all of like the new payment process and all these different things that are out now. And I'm like, that was me. And I'm like, I fit into this new world that the baby boomers didn't have. And so I'm like, so you could only really service as a business owner the people directly around you. They had no internet to sell to people. They had like, their market was infinitely smaller than our market. Right, the dissemination of information was tiny in comparison, but their industries, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, but the industries that they could sell through and open businesses for, I reckon would be like 1/10 of what we've got, like 1/10. It probably even less, right? Like you only had things that people desperately needed and wanted. Well, now, man, I can go and pay Patreon. I can go and give creator money just to consume whatever they record. Like those things just never existed before. And then the fourth sort of group that I had was like wealth creation. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this one. So I said that I think that the opportunity to create wealth is about the same. Now, just hear me on this one. Yes, we have got more assets to invest in than they ever did, whether it's NFTs, crypto, shares, property, et cetera, et cetera. And they typically only had like your gold and your shares and your bonds and all that kind of fun stuff. However, they were doing quite well. Like they had the same ability to create wealth because properties were going up, a lot of shares were going up, et cetera, that we had. We just had more opportunities to screw it up, but also more opportunities to make more money. I almost see that as an even playing field from an investment and a wealth creation perspective. Now, I'm curious as to your thoughts.
I actually agree.
Really?
I think that nets out. I think on the wealth, it's different, right? But I do think they net each other out.
Yep.
So my kind of view on this is I look at it and go, the mistake millennials and Gen Xers are potentially making or could make is they're trying to live and be like the boomers. Like they're not taking advantage of what millennials and Gen Xers have. Like you can literally make money as an influencer on Instagram these days, or invest in like fractional things. Like I know that fractional properties become it, and like ETFs like have exploded. There's all this new stuff. So, and again, I look at it and go, the boomers had a very different set of like tailwinds and things that were great for them. And if they got involved in them, they did really well. There's also a lot of boomers that didn't and did terribly.
Yep.
So if you're a millennial or Gen Xer today, like wanting to live and be the same way as the boomers is the mistake. Stop complaining that that game sucks and you can't win it today. It's like, it's take advantage of what we have. Like live in this new world. All the people I know that are killing it, that are millennials or Gen Xers, are the ones that have adopted new ways of doing things.
And you know what's really interesting? Because I thought about this one step lower. So to my opinion, like as business owners, we actually have it better off. From wealth creation, same. I actually think that if we educate ourselves better, we have more opportunities to make a boatload more money, but also more opportunities to wipe ourselves out. Our access to education far exceeds what they did. However, if I was to ask you this question, do you think that the baby boomers had it better compared to employee versus business owner versus business owner? I think that they're two very different things. I think if you're an employee, yes, baby boomers crush you. Like the education is not going to be as prevalent, right? Like you're not running businesses, so you don't have the same opportunities. So I can completely see why the media is getting so frustrated and sort of saying these things like, oh, baby boomers had it so much easier, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm like, but then I put my business owner's hat on and I'm like, no. I'm like, this is where it's different. So if I was an employee listening to our answers to this, I would completely disagree with what we're saying. But because we're all business owners, oh, heck yeah. Like this is our time to shine.
So just an example of that, if you're a teacher today, you've got it potentially harder than a teacher did 30 years ago when it comes to building wealth and lifestyle and all that. But if you're a business owner 30 years ago versus today, that's completely flipped.
Exactly.
which is why I say new game, be a business owner.
Yep.
Don't be a teacher in that example. Not that I'm against teachers, but I just think you want to play the game in a way that is suitable for today's environment, not 30, 50 years ago.
I think that's the benefit of everybody who listens to this. So my answer to did the baby boomers have it easier? Yes, to your point, to assets and sort of financially based off sort of a salary and an income, sure. But as business owners, I actually think that we have you never had your millionaires at 20 that we have now compared to then. No chance. And that's because of these opportunities.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.